I wanna look ourselves up, see if we actually like appear on Twitch in any capacity. Because it is, you know, it is kind of frustrating. Like, done a few episodes of this now, and it's like, how do we get more viewers, guys? What are we meant to do over here? I mean, I guess more YouTube viewers would help because then they'll get notified of the live. But also maybe just the time that we're doing this at just sucks. Although, I don't know, there's thousands of people streaming on the Just Chatting thing. But there's hundreds of people streaming. And there's like thousands of viewers. So there's definitely people out there. Just so many titty ladies. Gross. And it's gross, and we don't like it. But there we go. I'm gonna keep scrolling until I find myself. Where are we at down here? If I keep going, I will find myself eventually. Down in the slum pits. God damn, yeah, like Twitch discoverability, non-existent. No such thing. I don't know, I feel like I've got to get a clipper on the go. I think that's how we can start getting ourselves out there. We've got to start getting clips. God, this is the most like self-black killing thing I could possibly be doing before a stream starts. Zero viewers. Zero viewers. Oh, God. Gotta figure out ways to speed this up. Post a story on my TikTok. Let's see. Oh, apparently not. What, did they just get rid of story? I thought, does TikTok not do stories anymore? What the? I guess not. Oh wait, no, you know they do. There it isn't under camera. Okay. Okay. Well, we still get clips. We still get following watches. We just gotta figure it out. We'll mix it up. I don't know. Let's jump into things. Let's get the show on the road. Up to the most like black pilling start I could give myself. Fucking hell. Let's just do it. The dogs are barking, of course. Great stuff. Well. Life is a series of highs and lows, Andrew. You just gotta deal with it. Alright, let's do this. Good evening, good afternoon. Well, I already screwed it up. Fuck this, no, restarting. Nope, going back. Going back, and I can do that because nobody's watching. Unless somebody is and the viewing thing is lying to me, but fuck it. I don't even care if you're watching. Screw you. You can go as well and come back in a bit. Alright, let's actually do it for real this time. Hey, one viewer, finally. Holy shit. Probably Michael. But that's fine. That's fine. Alright, let's actually start, because we're running late. Got shit to do. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Enemy Stream. My name is Andrew Benison, and we're going to be covering all the latest in gaming news, of which there is not a whole lot, because all of the big live streams and events that are happening towards the end of the week, I think it's kind of like when an asteroid hits or a tidal wave forms and all the water gets sucked out into the ocean. That's kind of what's going on with gaming news right now. Just not a whole lot happening. I mean, it is Monday, but I think no one's doing any announcements or anything crazy, because there's all these big events. We've got Ubisoft and Xbox and all sorts coming over the next week or two. So I don't have a whole lot to talk to you about, but we will cover our recent virality on TikTok and what's going on with our Spider-Man prototype. What's it called? Don't know. Project Web, Dr. Kringle, couldn't tell you. What I do know is we've got a pretty interesting Spider-Man game, and hundreds of thousands of people apparently like it, based on what we're doing, the numbers that we're doing on TikTok. So we'll talk a little bit about that and kind of what our general plans are. There is an Apple, well, I say an Apple VR event. There is an Apple event later, which they do yearly, the Worldwide Developer Conference Community. And it's expected that that's where Apple's going to be announcing their VR, AR, mixed reality, crazy headsets. We'll talk a bit about that, look at some of the speculative information, the leaks that are coming around. Might react to that as well, thinking about it. It's at 6 p.m. BST tonight, which is in about 2 hours and 49 minutes. So I might do a reaction to that. So, you know, no promises, but I'll tweet it out and everything if we are. And then we'll also do some speculation on the Xbox showcase, the Xbox Game Showcase, which is taking place at the very end of this week. But like I said, I got nothing else to talk about, so that's the best that we've got. And there's a few other things. I got some other tabs open, but, you know, we'll look into it. But just want to remind you before we jump into things that we do the Enemy Stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. BST, 10 a.m. EST. And you can catch full episodes over on our YouTube channel, along with clips and all sorts of development information that we're putting out there, like devloggy type stuff. So make sure you follow us on Twitch, follow us on YouTube, and head on over to TikTok. And that segues nicely. And why should you follow us on TikTok? Why, you ask? Oh boy, that's screwed. Hang on. Whoa, Windows messed up. Here we go. Let me just shift that up here. Oh no. It always does that. Every time I fucking move Streamlabs from one screen to another, all of the like everything on the actual window shifts. It's the most annoying thing in the world. Hang on, fit to screen. There we go. That's better. Right. Yeah, so as you can see, this little TikTok channel of ours, we only had like 20 followers 2 days ago. We're about to hit 2,500. We just garnered 22,000 likes, like literally in a day or two, and we've got almost 250,000 hits on this awesome Spider-Man video that Michael put together. I think I'll probably keep it muted, but you can see basically what we whipped together was just a real basic like Spider-Man VR prototype, which does also work single player and multiplayer. So as you can see, you can swing around with ease. You can do like trick shots, like fire 2 webs, and I think Michael's actually about to show it. There you go, boom! You can fling yourself off. And we've got multiplayer working, so you can have lots of people swinging around as spider people. Do car chases, we do like cops and robbers. This was just something that we whipped up together, like while messing around on the Gunday kind of early initial sandboxy prototype ideas. And I'm kind of annoyed at myself for not pushing it more back then, because it was genuinely fun, it was genuinely interesting. We just didn't really show anybody, because we were just working on different things like day by day. But yeah, so Michael put together this nice little TikTok, and it's really blowing up, and we've got tons of people asking, like, what's it called? Where can I play it? Can you release it now? Can you release it for free? And it's like, no, we can't release it for free. We do actually have to make some money. But it's really suddenly kind of, well, I'm not going to say it's put us on the map, because it's certainly not done that, not yet. But it's certainly illustrated, like, look, there is a demand for the kind of things that we're making. And it's been interesting as well, trying to refine the kind of content we make. Like, I'm here doing more long-form stuff with Enemy Stream. Michael on the other end has been experimenting with, like, very short-form TikToks, and we've been doing loads of things in the middle. like GIFs and clips and montages, and we've got more devloggy type videos coming to sort of expand more on what our design ethos is and our vision is for the various things that we're making. But it's been very interesting just testing the waters with all of these various types and strategies for content and seeing what works and what doesn't. But I think this Spider-Man game, this has got to be by far the most interest we've ever had in anything we've done in an organic manner. So like we've promoted our games before through like Yogscast and Dan TDM and garnered like millions of hits, but that's sort of artificial in the sense that those audiences are already pre-established. They're not here for your game necessarily. They're here for Dan TDM, and whatever he plays, they're going to watch it and comment on it and like it and whatnot. And maybe that, you know, sometimes you get some of those people coming through and actually purchasing your game, which is great. But they're there for the pre-existing like entity, the entity. Whereas with this, it's like we just put this up and TikTok's just fed it out to people and it's picked up, and there's enough commentary here saying like we really like this, we want to see more, that it's like, okay, I think we're probably going to do more in it. So it's not to say anything, we're not going to put Gun Day or Horde on hold necessarily. We're going to keep trying to chip away at those as well, and also try to get those promoted too. I mean, that's the interesting thing, is like looking at the kind of spillover, like our other videos around this on things like Horde and Gun Day have also picked up an increase in views. Nowhere near, obviously, 250,000, but they've all sort of had an uptick as people spill out over from those videos and go to our YouTube and other places. So we want to keep spinning different plates. Obviously, we've got to go to where the demand is. We've got to go to where the money is. But it's just been, it's such like an interesting, different way of making games. You know, where previously, because we were very much like part of the industry and part of the industry flow of like, you build a prototype, you create a pitch deck, you go pitch to publishers, you need to have a full production schedule and a strategy for how you're going to release it on each platform, and, you know, all this prescriptive nonsense that you can't possibly know, and engaging in a creative endeavor. There's no way you can know these things, but you just have to like bullshit and lie so that you can get the money. But then once you've got the money, that also comes with all the terms and conditions. And so if you set XYZ milestones, regardless of what you discover while making the game and how that game changes, okay, doesn't matter, you've got to stick to those milestones. Or if those milestones need to change, then the deal changes, and the deal never changes in your favor. It's always for the worse for the developer. But that's always within the mindset that we're in, where it's like, it's almost like PTSD at this point, where it's like, if anybody suggests a game idea, I need to know what the finished product looks like. So it's like, how am I going to be able to pitch it without having the full vision? Very different when you approach development from a standpoint of like, let's just be purely creative. Let's put something together as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible. Let's find the fun, and let's just put it out there. And there's also a challenge in how you present the content. It's not easy creating like catchy, snappy content that instantly hooks people and then convinces the algorithm of whatever platform you're on to seed it out to 250,000 people. That's taken a bit of a learning experience as well. But all said, it's been a much simpler, more compact process, and we get results far quicker. You know, in terms of should we even be making this game, I'd rather know from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of consumers if something's good, rather than pitching it to somebody who happens to have money and maybe happens to have a track record of selling games. But that to me does not necessarily mean they know what games are all about. They don't necessarily know what's going to sell and what doesn't. And there's just the classic thing of like, the more money or the larger an organization is, the less risks it wants to take. So even if people recognize like, hey, this could be a great game, if you say, oh, but it will cost you millions to make, they go, nope, we got millions, but we don't want to spend millions. So I'd rather go to consumers who aren't necessarily in that mindset of like profit and loss and margins. They just want something cool and fun. Okay, well, we're providing something clearly that's potentially cool and fun to a lot of people. All right, then now we've got to figure out how to monetize this and fund it. But that all said, has been a much, much less stressful, more fluid, more efficient process than having to fly out to GDC or go down to Brighton and pitch at all of these events and, you know, basically like beg for money from people who have everything and want for nothing, trying to beg at these people's feet for like scraps from the table. It sucked. I had to do it for years. This process has been a lot more fun, and it's been a lot more interesting, and it's been a lot more conducive to us figuring out what actually works and what doesn't. So that's my little spiel on how well Enemy Team's going. I mean, It could be going a lot better, and I wish we'd been doing this stuff earlier. That's on me. But it has been a steep learning curve. You know, I've had to unlearn like 10, 12, 13 years of making games a certain way, of making games with publishing and funding in mind. It's not to say that we'll never work with a publisher and funder. Obviously, if we've got something interesting and it gets and garners enough attention, if we put this up on Steam and we get 100k wish lists, there will be people coming to us saying, "Hey, do you want to do a deal?" I'm not going to say no to having those conversations, but I'm gonna make sure that we have the leverage going into those conversations to work out a better deal for ourselves. That's very, very different to what we've been for like our entire careers, which is like we have no leverage, we have no money, we have no time, we're about to die, we barely have a game. How do we convince these people that, you know, we're the future, or that this product is going to make them some money? Uh, Not a fun position to be in. You know, I don't look back. There's not, you know, when people look back into the past, they say, oh, you know, I've got rose tinted glasses. They have like nostalgic memories. It's like, I don't have many nostalgic memories of those days of just getting ass fucked endlessly, month on month, year on year. Not good. But with this, at least we are somewhat in control of the direction that we're going in. So make sure you follow us on TikTok. I mean, hey, 2,374 people couldn't be wrong, right? 22k likes. That's all right. It's decent numbers. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I appreciate. Like, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. You know, what you want to be doing is, you know, hundreds of millions of hits and have millions of followers. Like, of course. But, you know, we have, I think, I don't know, like 25, 30 TikToks in total, half of which were just like cut-ups of streams that we did a while back. So it's extremely, the fact that we are, in terms of like game TikToks, this is like our 10th, 11th. You know, so the fact that we're doing these kind of numbers already, it's as Jack keeps saying, we have this conversation a lot where he'll say like, look, we have good shit, it's just nobody sees it. And it's like, he's exactly right. He's exactly right. So we'll move on. We'll look at the Apple VR predictions. Let's take a look at this. Apple is about to launch its biggest product in years. Here's what you need to know. This is from Mr. Andrew Griffin on The Independent. So, Apple is about to launch its first new platform in almost a decade. I didn't know it was that long. Holy shit. And what could be its most decisive product since the iPhone, a new mixed reality headset is due to be launched during its Worldwide Developer Conference event on Monday. Though it might not arrive then. I mean, this is, you know, because Apple has sometimes announced stuff and then, like, dropped it next day. And when it's revealed, it could decide the future of Apple, its users, and the devices that everyone uses. And we do have, so, you know, they've got a YouTube page. Apparently, it will go live in 2 hours, so they're probably going to do some, like, pre-show stuff. I don't know. I think probably will aim to react to that because because this is a big deal, as that article says. I don't know if there's much more I can really pull from this. We'll look at price points and specs and all that kind of stuff. But the important thing here to me, well, there's two things. One, VR has not gone in the direction that any of us thought or expected it would. It's gone into a much more slow burn state, potentially like negative trajectory. And the bubble for VR really burst, I'd say like 2-3 years ago. And, you know, back in the heyday of like, 2016, 2017, when we had Beat Saber and loads of games getting picked up by like Meta, back then Facebook, and acquired, studios being acquired, things looked bright, but things have really petered out. And so, as I've been saying at these various events, we covered the PlayStation Showcase and the MetaQuest, or the Meta Gaming Showcase, over the past week. And both of them were disappointing because the PlayStation 1 barely had any PSVR 2 games in it. And you go, okay, this is the de facto, like, the console for VR gaming. And they allocated it, like, 5 minutes in their show, maybe 10 minutes, with not a lot of interesting stuff. Again, they talked about Beat Saber, and it's like, okay, a game that we've been looking at where you cut up cubes for like 7+ years now, not very exciting. Fine. We get around to the Meta Gaming Showcase, and again, pretty much a lot of more of the same, some interesting stuff, but nothing that really blows you away, nothing that gives you a clear vision of the future of VR, where it could potentially get to. It just felt like a lot of like, here's a bunch of MetaQuest 2 games that will also work on MetaQuest 3. It's like, okay, fine, but that does not grow you a massive audience. So we've got this side of things where it's like VR just needs a win. We need something to come along and really shake things up and provide a clear vision of what the future is going to be. Because I don't think the future is the headset slightly thinner. You know, yes, that's an element of technological progression. MetaQuest 3 is going to be better than MetaQuest 2. Cool. There's got to be something more than that. That's simply spec-based improvements. That's something that we expect from our reality as hardware, software will improve, things will get quicker. Okay, but where's like the soul? Like where's the energy? Where's the really interesting shit that's really going to ignite people's imaginations and get them jumping on board? We just haven't seen anything like that. So this Apple event, if they're dropping a mixed reality headset, which again the potential of AR cannot be understated. I know that AR through phones sucks, but if you've ever had a chance to use something like the HoloLens, which I have, absolutely just incredible. And it's a shame that we've not had really any really positive movements on that front either. The name has just fallen out of my head, but there is a large scale company. God damn, what are they called? That's so stupid of me for not being able to remember. AR glasses company. What are they called? It was a huge deal a few years ago, but they totally fucked it. Wow. I mean, it doesn't even show when I search like AR headsets and stuff. It doesn't even show up. So that's a pretty bad. That's damning. Like, oh my god. And of course, if I search AR headset now, all it comes up with Apple. And yeah, Google fucking sucks. Magic Leap. There we go. Magic Leap. Disappointing, to say the least. So, it's not just VR that needs shaking up. It's like AR is also something which should be doing a hell of a lot better. It just isn't. So there's that side of things where it's like VR needs a shake up, but also Meta has been going all in on the VR headset experience. I'm not going to go into this in massive detail, but essentially, like Facebook or the Meta organization now is bottlenecked by the fact that they essentially live on other people's devices. So they live by what Android says and does, or Google in more accurately. Same with Apple. It's like these platforms, they don't have control over those platforms, and as those platforms make privacy changes, that affects what Facebook can look at, the information that they can extract, and thus the information that they can sell or use to attract advertisers. And so they've been moving in this direction of like, well, if we get into the hardware space, then we can separate ourselves and make ourselves independent of that entire world. That entire world can continue to exist, but where we can really start to make money is in the metaverse. Well, how do you access the metaverse? You need a meta headset. That's why they changed the name to that. So they need people jumping on board and buying their hardware, and they need to be the first. It's like the race for like mobile ride sharing. Uber went hardcore on that because they realized this is a business model that many different organizations could get involved in. So we need to corner the market. And so they spent a tremendous amount of time and money inserting themselves into as many markets as possible so that they could essentially monopolize. They weren't necessarily successful in that regard. They weren't able to lock down the entire market, but they've done a very good job, relatively speaking. So that, I believe, is what Meta's track. That's essentially the track that Meta is on, is they're thinking, look, there is going to be a major hardware supplier for VR, AR, mixed reality type headsets. You look at the MetaQuest 3 and they're doing like the color pass-through AR stuff as well. So clearly they're trying to get ahead of the curve. The problem for Facebook, Meta, whatever we call them now, is that they're not a trustworthy organization. There's no brand loyalty. No one's a brand loyalist to Facebook. Nobody loves Zuckerberg in the way that people loved Steve Jobs. There isn't this kind of cult of personality or like cult of experience in the way that Apple has been able to foster over the past like 20, 30 years. So if Apple comes along, I would argue this, if Apple comes along and provides something like the Meta Quest, essentially a similar device, but it's Apple branded and integrates with their various systems, that will immediately be a more popular device than the Quest 2 or the Quest 3 or the Reality Pro, whatever the more expensive headset is, because there is a much, much larger loyal potential install base there who would like to jump on that and will see the benefits of VR, AR, mixed reality stuff. So if we take a look then at what it is that they're saying could be in this, and I think, this is all super speculative, come about from leaks, but who knows if it's true. So they're saying they're going to be very focused on ensuring the headset brings a high quality experience, It means a much more luxurious specification than existing headsets at this kind of price point. Oh yeah, because the price point we're talking about like what rumors of to $3,000, which again everybody says this with VR that like nobody is going to want to spend thousands of dollars on hardware, and it's like but we did when we got DVD players, we did when we got HD TVs, flat screen TVs, all of this crazy hardware, mobile phones used to be thousands of dollars, nobody could afford them. There's always been periods where stuff is very expensive when it's something that wants to be mainstream, but it can only start as niche because it's something new. That's not been a problem for amazing hardware that is a absolute value add to the lives of the consumer. So you can't look at something like the Quest 2 and say this is a crazy value add. It's okay, but it's not incredible. If they are going all in on this and saying, yes, this thing's expensive, but it's literally going to like change your life, the kind of entertainment, the kind of practical things you're going to be able to do with it supersedes like everything that's come before. Again, in a classic Apple format, look at what they did back in '07 with the original iPhone. They completely destroyed and rebuilt the entire smartphone market in one day, in that one conference. It changed things overnight. It was an absolute revolution. And I've been saying this for quite a number of weeks. Like, I believe this is something that Apple, like, somebody's got to do it. And if it's not Apple, then who? Like, this is it. This is the last chance for VR, in my opinion, to get a major win. And I think that major win has to be carried out through some kind of radically different approach to this problem. But yeah, so let's just go back to the specs. So it's going to be apparently a hell of a lot better. Powerful displays, 5,000 nits of brightness. I don't know what that means, but 8K resolution. Okay, cool. 2 micro OLED displays should allow for rich detail, fast response times. Design says it will look something like the AirPods Max combined with an Apple Watch. The same unapologetic aluminium used on both of those devices and the soft material combined will make it wearable like Dahoy. And then on the sensor front, it will use 3D sensors to know where the hands are. So, you're not going to have to obviously set up like cameras and stuff and, things to track you. It will also have tools to detect more about the person wearing it. Reports suggest it will be able to see people's facial expressions, as well as including microphones for voice control through Siri. What's being described through these leaks is essentially what you see in like Ready Player One. It's like this headset is a fully integrated system through which you can interact with another world. We don't know necessarily this, but we covered on a previous episode about the controllers, that the controllers might be different, or that potentially there's not going to be any controllers. Again, we'll find out at 6 p.m. But again, it's that kind of like radical rethink to this kind of hardware that's required, that it's like people don't want to strap on a big chunky headset with wires sticking out of it and be holding these giant controllers that bash into each other if you bring your hands together. Yes, that's practically what you need in order to experience these kind of games, but from a user standpoint, I mean, again, it's the spirit of Steve Jobs. Is what he always says, is like, it doesn't matter if something's technically impressive. It doesn't matter if something has crazy computing power or impresses like nerds. It has to work for the consumer. It has to be easily accessible. It has to be simple. This is why from the iPod to the iPhone, they all have these incredibly simple interfaces. And yes, you lose, on the flip side to that, an amount of control over those systems. But what you get is a great user experience that, like, basically is idiot-proof, that anybody can pick up and enjoy and play with, which is the exact problem that VR has. So, it'll be really interesting to see where this goes. Just looking if there's anything else that we can pull out of this article. No, not really. Not really. Let's see, eventually too, Apple might want to take some of the technology from the goggles and integrate them into glasses. Yeah, of course. Cool, all just speculation. So we'll see what happens. I think I probably will do a reaction at 6 p.m. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, I don't know what their, specifically we make games. I don't know if this thing is going to be in any way, shape, or form a gaming platform. Really not heard a whole lot on that front. Obviously, Apple has things like Apple Arcade. They have the App Store. So they are involved in games. And I think that would be, what would be hilarious is if this thing is much, much better than the Quest at being able to not just to essentially take your inputs, not just from the hands, but all the way up to facial expressions, microphone, something that allows for like complete immersion and like trans immersion, like mixed reality immersion. And it's like, this thing could do, ticks all the boxes that Meta has for like the metaverse and how they imagine people interacting in the future. It ticks all of those boxes and could completely just surpass them. And it's like, if that's the case, it could be like Meta's dead. You know, if they go all in and say, yes, we're also going to seize the gaming market, we're also going to seize the metaverse, and we're going to go several steps further, and also obviously also already integrates with all our other hardware. Like, it absolutely will work with your Apple Watch, with your iPhone, be part of that shared network of devices. I mean, that's like game over for Zuck. That's game over for Meta, because you know the gaming showcase didn't inspire, it didn't interest. Nobody looking at the Meta Quest 3 is going, well, now I gotta jump into Horizon's metaverse. Nobody. So, it remains to be seen what happens, but maybe join us later. Yeah, we're going live. Well, this thing goes live in about 2 hours at 6. So, yeah, I think I'll probably jump on around about 6. So make sure you join us back then. Okay, I did have this story on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but honestly, it's pretty boring, and I got work to do, so I'll probably just skip this. Essentially, it's just, look, licensing's a bitch. You can't throw anything you want into a game based on a film. I don't know, pretty dry stuff. Like I said, guys, there's nothing going on. There's nothing happening. Everyone's just waiting for these giant events to take place. So it's dry. It's dry out there. My mouth is dry. My throat is dry. It's boiling hot in this room. It's dry as shit, and it's dry as shit on the internet. Sucks. Right. Well, let's look at predictions for the Xbox Showcase, which is happening this Sunday, which we'll also be covering, so make sure you tune in for that. So this is pure Xbox's predictions for the 2023 Xbox Games Showcase. And we've got a, right off the bat, like, trailer for Indiana Jones. Okay, like, cool. Redfall makes an appearance with news on 60 FPS. I think they've how could they address Redfall on stage? You know, the Xbox events are always very, very, like, corny, very, very goofy. There's no good press that came out of this. So, I don't know, I almost feel, and what was the last thing we heard from Xbox was Phil Spencer, like, basically apologizing and saying, like, yeah, it's kind of a 6 out of 10, we didn't knock it out of the park. And it's let everybody down. So, I can't imagine them putting it like center stage. Who knows? They are doing an extended game Xbox showcase like the week after, or a couple of days afterwards. There's like an even longer event for like other stuff. I actually think it's probably going to appear there, but we'll see. Avowed, I've never heard of it, so I don't particularly care. Minecraft's ray tracing updates. I mean, Minecraft updates have been a joke for a good couple of years now, so I don't know. Maybe they come in with a big win. Can't imagine it being too excited. Hellblade 2, like Hellblade to me was barely even a game, so again, don't really care. Now Starfield, now this is the interesting one because everything's kind of riding on this. Like, just to scroll down, like Halo Infinite was a flop, and Redfall didn't do very well, and I don't know, maybe the Indiana Jones game is great. Who knows? Yet to be seen. Really, the main thing that Xbox has right now that's like new and exciting from people with a track record that should be great is Starfield, and we haven't seen a hell of a lot of very interesting things from it thus far, quite frankly. So this is going to have to absolutely blow people's heads off, or I don't know. Xbox is going to be in serious trouble. I personally not a fan of a lot of their games. I play things like Skyrim and stuff, and I just find it like it's just janky. I'm just going to say it, boring games. They're not particularly interesting. I find the design ethos to be very, very cookie cutter. It's the same on game on game on game. Just not exciting. So we'll see what happens, but Halo Infinite, I mean, they're gonna have to say something, right? You gotta say something on this game because it's been an absolute abysmal failure. It's been the most disappointing, upsetting thing to see ever. So, and they've lost everyone. Like literally everybody who runs the show at 343 left. So maybe they're gonna announce like a whole new set of C-suite managers. Like, hey, we upgraded the interns and we put them into managerial positions. Now they're running the show. So we'll see. I don't know. For Mum's Project, Tata Kana has been rumored to be a Halo Battle Royale. Can you imagine that? We've already moved past, the industry has moved past battle royales. We're fully into everyone's doing extraction shooters now. So then I think Halo dropping a battle royale right now would be like just perfect. That's like peak behind the curve, corporate, absolute corporate decision making. I hope that that's what they drop. I hope they announce that just to further highlight just how dead Halo is. They're incapable of managing this IP. Let's see, Gears of War will show up in some fashion. Yeah, probably. Probably. And Fable's going to show up. Are you seeing a repeating pattern here as well of like stuff that we've seen before? And not to completely dunk on sequels. Like, sequels are important. And hey, I loved Super Mario Odyssey, and that's a sequel upon a sequel upon a sequel. But you also do need new stuff going on. Like, you need new things coming in the mix, generation upon generation of consoles. And it's like, what are we seeing here? Fable, Gears, Halo, like, all quite tired, beat up IPs that the original creators of which are all long gone. It's all corporate decision making. It's just, again, do you see what I mean about when I say it's so uninspiring? It's like, how can you give these events any more than a 3 or a 4 out of 10 when it's just exactly what you expect? There's no surprises, and even when there is a surprise, like the marathon reveal for PlayStation, you then find out 1 second later it's an extraction shooter, and you go, oh, again, corporate decision making. They just looked at what's the algorithm spinning back to us. Is that the game they truly want to make, or is that the game that they think will make them the most money in the market in the shortest amount of time because it's the hot thing? And if they can inject into the market with an old IP, so you get brand awareness from old heads like me, new kids on the block, younger gamers don't give a shit, but hey, it's a fast-paced extraction shooter, cool, I'll download that. It's probably going to be a free-to-play game as well, so they get loads of people jumping in. And it's just like, is any of that coming from a place of what they actually want to do? Is there any creatives in the mix, guiding the tiller? Or is it just purely like, yep, our boss wants to make as much money as quickly as possible. We can't really do battle royales anymore. Loot boxes are out of fashion. What's the next essential, like, grift? What's the next thing we can trick gamers into thinking is great? And it's probably this. So it's very tiring. It's very tiring to see. But apparently, the rumors they're going to close out the show, with a brand new game reveal. Well, this is just them predicting. I mean, yeah, of course there's going to be new stuff. No doubt, there's going to be old IPs, there is going to be new IPs. And again, I never say this stuff like in a kind of mean sense. I'm not being like negative and critical for no reason. I want this stuff to be good. I remember a time when this stuff was good. Like, sure, 20 years ago at this point, maybe 10 years ago, I don't know. 2013, with things like E3, was it generally good by that point? I'm not so sure. But it was better than now. It was better than the last 5 years. Like, I want gaming to be exciting again. I want it to be inspiring. I want it to be imagination inspiring. What would be the word for that? I want it to spark people's imaginations, get them excited for the future. Not just settled in for the long haul stream of battle royale, free-to-play extraction shooters, monetization, microtransactions. I want stuff that really like captivates the mind and like gets you really hyped for the future. And just, when I look through articles like this of these predictions, I just don't get that. Now, to be fair, Aaron Greenberg, who is the director, one of the higher-ups at Xbox, has said that at least none of the first-party games in the show are full CG trailers. And I was like, okay, so partial CG. Everything's either in-game footage or in-engine footage, which is cool. That's good, because that's obviously a common complaint we've all had for years, is a lot of these events are just pre-rendered nightmares. We had that a lot with the PlayStation Showcase, where there's like games where it's like, how can I know if this is any good? It's just a CGI trailer. And apparently there will be no movie or TV show trailers, which is great to hear. Again, it's almost like dahoy. You should never have done this stuff in the first place, but okay, at least you're learning lessons. It's taking you years to learn these lessons, but at least you are learning them. And his advice is to come in with an open mind and enjoy the ride. Appreciate the hard work of many teams put their heart and soul into this for all of you. And it's like, well, absolutely, there will, no doubt, at every step of the way, there's developers who are literally like, bleeding and dying, essentially, pouring their like life energy into making these products work. they're not really at fault for the big failures. As we saw when we were covering Redfall and just the disaster that was happening behind the scenes at Arcane and Bethesda and Xbox, it was a lot of mismanagement. It was a lot of people who have no incentive to do the right thing, consistently doing the wrong thing, and the developers pay for it. So I'll try going with as an open mind as possible. I mean, you know, the leaks, rumors, and stuff are what they are. You expect things like Gears, you expect things like Halo. Hopefully those things have improved. I highly doubt it. I can only be so open-minded, and I hope that we do get some new interesting stuff. But we're living in a world, you know, we're living in a world where there's no, I mean, what are we all celebrating right now? We're all celebrating Pride Month, which Xbox are a big fan of. And what are they saying behind the scenes? Oh, we need to stop hiring people like me and start hiring people like, well, you know who. And it's like, okay, is that going to lead to making better games or not? Probably not. Does that speak to good management, good decision making? Absolutely not. And have we been on a positive trajectory with any of this stuff for years? No. So I want to be positive. I'd love to be. I want to be open-minded. I want to be entertained. And sure, I'm a bit older. I'm a bit cynical, but I don't know. I can't imagine it's going to be great, but we are going to cover it regardless. We will be covering it live on Sunday. I believe it's at 6 p.m. We'll tweet out the exact details shortly, sooner rather than later. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I know this has been a shorter show, but like I said, there's just not a whole lot going on, guys. Sorry, what can I say? Like, we got to wait to react. Come back at 6 p.m. tonight, 6 p.m. BST. I'll try cover this Apple event. We'll see if Apple is going to revolutionize VR. Will they kill MetaQuest? Honestly, hopefully, just mix things up, just make things better. If worst case, or I could say best case, actually, best case would be it gives them the kick in the ass they need, the real competition to step things up, and we see things improve. Because that's really what we need. If there's a common through line to all of my complaints and criticisms about the games industry, it's just that the competition is fake and not real at this point. That we need actual real competition where companies, the major companies, you know, platform holders, holding companies, etc., are actually at risk of going under, are actually at risk of like losing their share of the market unless they produce the most bombastic, amazing, innovative, genre-defining games ever imagined. We used to have that, and we certainly do not have that anymore. So the best thing that could happen is like Xbox does do stuff that makes everybody else go, oh shit, like I've actually got to step it up. That Apple comes out with a headset that, like the iPhone, just revolutionizes the VR market like they did with the smartphone and just destroys everything and rebuilds it in a new image. Great. That's going to force some serious competition to try and compete against that. So we'll stay positive. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I don't know how positive I can realistically be, but we'll see how things go going into it. So, you've been watching the Enemy Stream. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. BST, 10 a.m. EST, and you can catch full episodes on our YouTube channel. Make sure also to follow us on TikTok, where we are blowing up, we're going viral, and we're going to be posting a lot more regularly. I think we've ramped up our posting quite a bit, actually, but YouTube, TikTok, those are kind of the main places to see what we're doing. And you can find us on Twitter, we got a Discord, hey, you can even donate to us on Patreon if you want to see us, like, literally save all of gaming, you want to see us save VR, you want to see us make the most awesome zombie game you've ever seen, like, hey, hop on that Patreon, give us a couple of quid. So, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you at, probably just before 6 p.m. tonight on Twitch and YouTube. Post the links on Twitter where we'll cover the Apple event. And if you missed that, we'll see you in the next Enemy Stream on Wednesday. Thanks a lot for watching.